Hi, and welcome to our first official March webinar. I'm Megan Endicott, your General Music Professional Learning Community Lead for the Georgia Community Group. Today, we're going to spotlight advocacy, community engagement, and creating community inside and outside of the classroom. So let's get started with arts advocacy. Probably one of the most important things that we do as music educators is consistently strive towards advocating for the arts. And this can be done in many ways. One of the greatest reaches that we have access to is social media. Social media platforms reach greater audiences and have the potential of impacting those we don't even know. Some popular sites like Twitter and Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook, of course, are out there. While many more are coming to the forefront, these spaces have become the hub for many school districts in regard to having a professional voice and platform. Of course, it's important to be mindful of your district policies and that surround social media and its approved uses for professional use. In addition, don't forget the extreme importance surrounding the proper media releases that are needed for any pictures or videos you post of your student work. There are many ways to easily blur or cover up sensitive information with graphics in the event it is necessary. Over the years, I've become very attached to Twitter as my digital portfolio. And you're going to see that a lot throughout the webinar today. And I've pulled all of my rich resources from today, all from my Twitter page. So I can't wait to share with you some of the things that I've been trying out in my classroom, and I hope that it'll speak to you, and maybe there'll be some new things that you can take along with you. Other popular sites, of course, have a similar effect, and they reach different audiences. Younger parents and students, the student body, are drawn to Instagram posts, while the older community, kind of like myself, find ourselves are more comfortable with platforms like Facebook. So understanding where to find your audience and how to share your program and what you have to offer with your students have to offer, what music has to offer, and how the arts are important are all, these are some great places to look at. So I have, of course, like I was saying before, used my Twitter account to share with the greater community some amazing things that are happening inside of our classroom and ways that we're building, in this example, multicultural connections. I know my school is 50% very diverse, and it is really exciting to have that opportunity and that platform to share that. I don't know if everyone knows things like that unless you share it. Of course, we can also shout out and find ways to grow together as a community. And I don't know that people know about that piece without the advocacy being there and calling it out in these social media platforms. YouTube is another valuable resource, and one of my favorite uses has been to create teacher-made and student-made resources. It's also a great place to share what's happening in your classroom. So again, don't forget to check with your district on approved uses of social media and those student media release forms. Those are all very important. And of course, we're going to talk a little bit now about that the community space. And don't want to let you guys forget about the valuable resources of Facebook. We have our very own Georgia Department of Education Fine Arts space and community inside of our Facebook platform, where we can actually learn and grow together so that we can continue that advocacy and that reach, expand our reach. So let's look at this special community that we are all here together, that we're hoping to learn and grow from each other and expand. We currently have a lot of different posts that are already out there and more details where we can use these discussion posts to learn and grow and share. So I'm curious, in this very space, what are some ways you've been advocating for the arts and your programs? We can share in this discussion space all of the things that you guys are doing. And that's going to be our big question, our prompt in our webinar discussion today. Now, we have all of these wonderful private social media communities, but let's not forget the value of a website. Public-facing locations that can be accessed by the community stakeholders and other students and families can easily be placed on a website. There are many free options for creating your own website to share student work and expand your arts program through enrichment or remediation. Oddly enough, recently, I had a student's parent reach out to me stating that her homeschool children have been very thankful for the music resources that I was able to create and share on my website, and even asked if I'd consider adding one of her children's favorite websites to my favorite links page. So you don't always know the impact your voice has on others. So any way that you can shout out what it is you're doing is amazing. So don't forget the power of the website. There are many ways that you can advocate for the arts right inside of your own school. Music in Our Schools Month is in March, and it's a wonderful opportunity to keep music alive. One of my favorite activities with students is to create a quick reflection on why is music important to them. Right now in my class, we've been learning about expression, right? Tempo and dynamics, and connecting them to feelings. This has been great connecting activity to tie in the relevance of the impact music has on our daily lives. Some teachers have found ways to connect with schools through their morning announcements programs. So during the Music in Our Schools month, it could be an awesome opportunity to spotlight feature musicians or artists of the week. You could have live concerts that can be happening, right? We know that in back in the old day, right? We used to go on field trips, which is great. And we could see different groups performing. But now with technology, we have opportunities to find virtual field trips. And we can connect with musicians around the world. And we can, different styles, right? Which really could speak to our students to find things that are right for them. These can be live, and depending on the platform, or you can find things that are pre-recorded on YouTube, for example. So professional orchestras have been doing this and working hard to assist with advocacy for the arts in these different ways. One of my favorites that I would share with you is this cute live performance that we had. We got to go to take a little mini field trip to see a live performance. But again, think about the impact we can have with our students in a virtual environment too. School-wide performances are another fun way to advocate for the arts programs. These types of performances engage the students in many levels through participating in creating and performing a polished production, to being a member of the audience and looking forward to future events or maybe their own events. In addition, these opportunities open the doors for parents in the community to come into the school and see firsthand the impact music has on their children. One of my favorite events is our Fine Arts Night. So generally the students, our 4th and 5th grade students, perform a musical medley with dancing and singing and acting on stage while the entire school holds a real-life art show where they do the gallery walks and they get to admire and marvel the artistic talents of all the students inside the school. Anytime you can engage in joining art and music together and have these rich opportunities is definitely, I think, something that should be considered. It makes it fun too. So I just kind of wanted to show you a little bit of what some of these performances look like in my school. You can see on the screen here, we've got a pretty big crowd of students in attendance. We do a student performance for the student body so that they can see each other. And then we have the parents come at night. First graders singing. That is so much fun. And then, of course, our little second graders. And here's a picture of the art gallery that we were talking about before. And, of course, a little clip of the older kids and their performance. It's hard to believe that I could see you were when we get to showcase our talent and our students, right? So finding ways to put your kids out there and show what they're working on, and show how music is important and speaks to each individual child. Anytime you can do that, I think it's going to be a powerful way of advocating for your program. Now, of course, in our current reality, we don't have the luxury of school-wide performances or those beautiful art galleries that you saw in the pictures before. And we music teachers have really had to start thinking outside of the box. We're not sure when and where we'll get back to our normal, but finding ways for our students to connect and share virtually has been a wonderful kind of like a hidden gem. So this year, I know many of you, just like myself, have decided to try to do some sort of online showcase. And this year I wanted to do a holiday showcase just to see, test the waters, see how it would go. And I found a platform where my students could submit a video of their performances and offer comments in the form of praise to each other. We talked about that. And this came out way more beautifully than I could ever have imagined. Families dressed up and performed together. So it wasn't just the student, they brought in their whole family. Students put on their best professional attire. Students also played with backdrops and the settings to give that professional feel and showcase of their talents. And you can even see here on our slide, teachers got involved and performed and shared their talents with the student body. It was a full community effort, and everyone was working together on these performances. So while I look forward, of course, to having my school-wide performances back because I just think they're so fun and valuable, I don't think I'm ever going to let this virtual thing go, though. This was by far one of the biggest outreaches of music advocacy within our little community that we've ever experienced. And bringing not just the kids in a talent show type thing, but bringing in the community. They were sharing their songs, their favorite songs, things that spoke to them, and work together. It was really cute. So I can't wait. I'm going to show you a little bit of what this looks like.
Have yourself a merry little Christmas and a Hanukkah too. You better watch out, you better not cry, you better not pout, I'm telling you why. Santa Claus coming to town. So, it's the most beautiful time of the year. Lights fill the streets, spreading so much cheer. I should be playing in the winter snow, but I'm gonna be under the mistletoe. I don't want to miss on the holiday, but I can't stop staring at your face.
And so I was able to really learn a lot about my students and about the families in my school. And meanwhile, this reached out, like I said, to so many people. It really was showing the importance and the value of music in each person's home and inside of our community. So let's talk about our next topic, community engagement outside of the classroom. The easiest way to connect with community is to share what's happening. And of course, this is twofold, right? You're able to advocate for the arts and your program and give them a sneak peek at what's happening in your room, all at the same time. Before creating our virtual classrooms, I found success in blog posts on my website. These blog posts reach the parents and any other stakeholder interested in learning and sharing with each other. Cross-posting links in various social media outlets and the school newsletter helps alert the community to see what is new. Another venue that has been really popular are podcast series. I created a little 4th and 5th grade music tech club that meets in the mornings before their bell to talk about what we're learning in kindergarten through 5th grade music. They write a script, they decide on special guests to interview, and then they talk to these special guests about their feelings and why they feel that music is important. So it's kind of almost a little advocacy tossed in there too. Then this is posted on the website and again shouted out on social media to alert the community that something new has been posted and for them to check it out. Other digital platforms for engaging the community can be things like post-it sites where students can in the community can either chime in, share their thoughts, answer a question as part of this online extended classroom, or even just post comments to students' work. A lot of times we're able to post a video, and then parents and teachers, principals, administrators can then comment on the work because we're able to put it out there a little more publicly. Even still, finding ways to involve your own teacher community in performances outside of the school, it's pretty cool. I mean, I know it's a stretch, as you can see here in this picture. We had a wellness event, and so part of the wellness was putting on a performance, and so we grabbed a bunch of teachers and decided to do a dance routine. So who knows, right? You don't know until you try. So trying to find ways to involve the community in what's happening is super fun. You have to sometimes think outside of the box. Again, remember anytime you're posting anything, I know it's the common disclaimer, just make sure you're following your district's policies because all policies are different and media releases are all handled differently. So just check on all that stuff before you start getting too excited and posting all those things. When trying to find ways to involve the community, a great place to start is with your school business partners. And I don't know if you guys have really thought about that. Business partners are always looking for ways to drive people to their place of business. As a school, we performed at places like Barnes and Noble and Kroger, and of course, for big city events. Sometimes the city wants to generate excitement, but also they want to make sure that they're involving and engaging the community. So they reach out to local schools and keeping your ears open and making sure that you are available and they know you're interested is a great way to open that door so that you can begin doing these kind of performances. The kids love it, the parents love it, the business partners, they definitely love it. So it is helping each other out. Don't forget, of course, too, that there is a great way to perform and work with the community through the sporting events. You can do sporting events at the local high school or a professional sports team in the nearby area. Special events at your school. Sometimes you can find ways to perform for your special events at your school. For example, you'll see on the top corner of the screen, our superintendent came to our school. He was doing a presentation to the community. So we really quickly just pulled my chorus together. They've been working on music already, so it was perfect. We were outside by the door singing as the community members were coming into the building and just put on a little performance. It really it made it a warm, cuddly, cozy environment, and it really didn't take a whole lot of effort. We also have sang outside of the school building and did whole dance routines and the whole thing when we knew that the principals in the community were having a meeting at our school just to kind of welcome them, get them in the spirit. We've even had some of those administrators and area superintendents pop by and sing with the kids, which of course, they were so excited about that because now they were getting to sing with other people. So having those moments, awesome thoughts to think about. The community really, really does appreciate it. That was a little clip from us singing at the Globetrotters game. We were able to sneak in because they were playing really close by the school. Now, perhaps one of my favorite ways to engage with the community is to bring them to us. We know that relevancy is key when working with children. The why do we have to learn this? They're always asking, and they really need to know. Professionals who are living and breathing the actualities of what we are teaching our students, that's a great place to start. Talk about relevant, right? Students can make connections to their learning and have fun and seek answers to their burning question, no matter how silly sometimes they might be. I found that I got two examples here. We reached out to the local college and brought in a colleague to come and talk about sound and percussion. So it was kind of a cross-curricular discussion on sound and percussion instruments. And then I connected with a local talent, actually not really local, a talent from the Nashville area to talk about concert etiquette. So being a performer, why is it important for students to think about concert etiquette? So it was a very interesting flip, right? We tell them all the time what it feels like to be a performer, but actually talking to the performer about how they're engaging with their audience was really an eye-opening experience, and the kids were able to really get a better value and sense of what that's supposed to look like. She also shared with them some funny anecdotes of things that happened to her. So we can listen to a little bit of that. And of course, she gave them a little free concert at the end. So connecting with professionals can really be rich and valuable for our students.
Goofy, really silly song that I had as my ringtone, and I could not find my phone for a while, and I was like, and it was going, I don't want no scrubs, a scrub is a cat, can't get no love. That was the song that was playing, and I couldn't find it, and everyone was staring at me like this.
So that's something you don't want to do, especially when you're singing opera or symphony or something like that.
You do not want to have your phone on. No. Midnight, making sure nobody sees it down. Way down your line. Way down, way down. No, can't live this way. Goofy, really silly song.
Okay, so one of the things too that I wanted to mention before we leave that clip is that the performer, her name's Jessie, she was trained professionally in opera. She was a voice major and had performed in many different venues and in different concert halls. And then she started singing and performing in clubs, right? And in different places, restaurants and things like that. And she got to talk to the kids about how audience behavior is different in different settings and what's still appropriate and not appropriate always. So it was really neat perspective. So consider reaching out to those professionals who are multifaceted and can share different angles to our story. And of course, as I have echoed throughout this entire webinar, one of the best ways to engage with the communities is through the sharing the gift of song. Video your kids, do what they do, and share it out when possible, of course. Remember, there's always those blurred video options. You can just share audio if you want to make sure that you're compliant with your district's policies. But people really just connect with children's voices, and what better way to show that build that community and the excitement than sharing out.
Singing together, one song, reaching out, we can cover the world with love.
For our last section, we're going to focus on creating community both in the classroom and professionally. Anytime you can engage the students in collaborative or creative play and allow them to work together for a common cause, you're building a community of musicians and performers. This can also be accomplished through small group work, centers, or projects. Now, while I know that we group students based on academic, data-driven artifacts, sometimes I have my students choose their partners because we know that sometimes music can feel foreign and pretty uncomfortable for kids. So it's a good idea whenever you know something's going to be a little bit awkward for them to allow students to carefully select, of course, with your help and parameters, students who they feel comfortable with and students they'll feel comfortable taking risks with. I've seen a huge boost in my student participation, and I believe it's because of that community of safeness, right? They feel safe, they feel validated, and they feel like it's okay for them to do something silly because they're with their friends and their friends are doing the silly thing too. So keeping that in mind. So here's kind of an example of my kids playing at the very beginning of the year with Steady Beat, talking about changes in music and how it's all affected and works together. And look at their little silly smiles and how much fun they're having. And they're doing silly things. And it's older kids, and older kids have a really hard time with that. So keep this little tip in mind. Just see what happens. So students in that scene were actually taking turns mirroring and being the leader. And it's hard to tell who the leader was because everybody was so seamlessly working together and having a really good time, but still able to reflect and have a meaningful conversation at the end. We all know the power of a good pair and share or a turn and talk. And if you haven't considered using this technique, it's a powerful form of building classroom community. It allows students to have a voice rather than calling on one student who is always raising their hand to answer the question. We know that can me, right? You're offering more opportunities for students to not only share what they believe is right and defend it, but continue the learning opportunity through further discussions. So while students are talking, I love to walk around, of course, usually holding my recording device. They got used to it, right? And they listen to students collaboratively problem solve. In this environment, they feel safe taking the risks and sharing their beliefs or their inquiries in a non-threatening environment, while I, the teacher, can move around and hear vocabulary being used. I can hear correct and incorrect answers, and all of this is collected and guides me in my discussion for the next part of the lesson. So that way, all of the content that's discussed is catered and it's just right and it's in time for my students. And how often have we had a moment where kids start tinkering on their instruments when you're teaching, right? Ugh, stop playing out of turn, right? If you play before I say, you know the phrase, you know how that one ends. But I also find it's because they're trying to work something out in their head and they just can't help themselves. So building in structured time for exploration and creation, or just a minute to work it out, is important. Again, ensuring it's structured and invited is key. I try to, just kind of a helpful hint, come up with a nonverbal signal or an instrument sound to bring them back so it saves your voice. Of course, you never want to scream over them while they're tinkering. I find that these opportunities for creating and creativity build that community piece, and it comes with that shared decision making. I enjoy pairing students when they're creating and allow them to come up with group consensus on a final product that could be shared. So I am going to share with you a quick pair and share where students are trying to problem solve and work together on solving or answering a question. There's several different rhythmic phrases on the board, and they were tying it to some lyrics of a song and trying to figure out exactly on what rhythm pattern or the order that those rhythms should go into.
First, second, and so the first one is you could get those two.
On the next clip, you're going to see students working together in collaborative groups, and in their collaborative groups, they take turns playing for each other different melodic patterns and then deciding which one they like the best. So you'll see some of them are changing their minds in the middle of it and picking the one that they want as a collaborative little community, a little group.
I like this one. Are you ready? So I'm going to
I have shared many ways that I strive to build community during the class period, but a lot of this also happens outside of class as well. So I offer office hours for students who want to continue their learning. For me, this happens during that morning time when students are trickling into the school and before the official start of the school day. Sometimes they come to practice on group dances or projects, and sometimes it's for independent singing practice. And sometimes it's just to sit at my table with a marker and just scribble all over the desk and go through whatever the concept is that they were struggling with. But regardless, the kids know my door is always open. Here's just a couple of examples of what craziness the music room looks like in the mornings.
Yeah, we did.
Or this one. Now, of course, this looks totally different now because we know that with our current reality, we are not meeting with these big groups. We're not allowed to gather in spaces like we have in the past. So I make sure that there's a space for all my students to connect with me and their peers virtually through our virtual classroom. So I put a space inside of our virtual classroom where in each grade level, there's a space for them to ask a question. And I've also created a space and started creating a space for shout outs. So not only can they ask questions and help one another, they can also praise each other or an event or whole class if they feel so inclined. So we're trying to build in that virtual community piece because students are feeling more isolated now than they ever have before. And it's important for us to still give them that feeling of connectivity. If I need my teacher, I know how to get in touch with my teacher and she will be here to help me. Or I want to celebrate something, and how do I do that correctly? We know that kids are constantly trying to use that chat space, and most of the time they're trying to use it inappropriately. So if we give them a space to have the opportunities to connect or communicate in ways that are appropriate, then by all means, let's make sure that we're doing that for our students. So just a couple of ways that I've been able to do that in my classroom. I'd love to hear what you guys are doing in your classroom as far as building community with your students and engaging with them. Now, we as teachers would not be who we are without constant growth. I know I'm echoing many of you when I say I'm constantly learning something new from my colleagues or the internet. And of course, maybe some new tricks from this very learning community that we were creating here. We can start learning from each other, and I can't wait for that. But connecting professionally isn't always as easy for everyone across the state, and I realize that. So I wanted to share a few ideas of ways that you could possibly start and create your own professional learning communities in areas around you or across the state. We know that the biggest learning community that we have access to is the Georgia Music Educators Association. And here we have access to opportunities to learn and connect from others at conferences or over social media. We have access to valuable leaders in the field who are constantly advocating and sharing to help others. This, of course, is a great place to start. In our district, we created some district-wide website where we have a colleague that collects content from others across the district and posts it onto the site for a one-stop shop of learning. It could start off small and it could build up over time. Also, another opportunity are after school it could be face-to-face, but after school optional school learning events. They could be face-to-face, hopefully soon, right? Like in the past, or continue virtually. That helps us reach a greater audience. If time and distance is a problem, virtual could be your answer. The presenters don't have to be professionals, and they don't need to require money from a budget. Rather, if you consider your colleagues who show success in certain areas, a specific area or content, then reach out to these people. Don't forget to lean on each other to build these professional learning communities across your district or, surrounding areas. When possible, some districts have built-in professional development days. Advocate for having your music teachers across your district or in your area meet together on those days. And then maximize the time with careful planning that targets your specific needs. Once again, draw upon each other to lead. And when in doubt, find a facilitator to have the group work in collaborative groups for the common good, because we know that to facilitate doesn't mean that you have to be the expert in the content, that the group can be the expert. We learn better and we grow better when we're collaborating and sharing and bouncing off ideas. So a simple facilitator could actually do the trick. It's just a matter of figuring out what the content or the focus is going to be. The biggest hurdle you're going to find, of course, is getting that engagement on the buy-in right away, especially if you're starting something new. So it's okay. Just remember, start small and it'll build steam as you find success. And remember, of course, to advocate and share out what's happening so that you can really draw that interest and bring the want or the will. To end this little section, don't forget to build communities of music supporters inside your own school. So I'm thinking more of the professional part, right? The teachers, your colleagues, your administration. I try to think of creative ways to reach every teacher in the school with some sort of musical activity to get them excited about and love music, whether it's the end of the year dance video, like you see here in this picture. The whole school is involved. Everybody, cafeteria, administration, front office, technology teams, coaches, teachers, assistants, everybody, school bus drivers, everybody's involved. Try to get them excited, bring them in. You can think about singing on stage with your team at lunch for the students, or caroling in the halls, or creating random music videos for your school morning news with some of your colleagues. There's always a way to expand the reach. So what are some of the things that you're doing at your school to maintain music supporters? And if you haven't thought about it, I wonder what you're thinking now. I'd be curious to hear. Maybe we can share that in our discussion as well. Well, that really concludes the entire presentation today. Don't forget, if you want to get in touch with me, you can do that right here in the Georgia Department of Education community group. You can also follow me on Twitter or Instagram. I have a YouTube channel where I try to post instructional videos, performances, all sorts of valuable resources that you're welcome to take and use in your own classroom. And of course, my website, which has several links out to different resources for you to check out. Don't forget also to follow the Georgia Department of Education Fine Arts team here. You can see our leading team. We've got Jess Booth. She is the Fine Arts Program Manager. Paul McLean, our Fine Arts Program Specialist, and Casey Hall, another Fine Arts Program Specialist. So make sure you know how to get in touch with them, know how to follow them. They're our biggest support, our biggest advocates, and you want to make sure you got your eye on them. And of course, continue to follow the Georgia Department of Education. Thanks, guys. I look forward to seeing all the comments that we're going to have exploding inside of our community. Have a good one.